What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Four Boots Goofing. I'm Nick,
I'm Reece.
and today we're doing another first impression video, this time of the wonderful new game, Emberleaf.
Emberleaf. Designed by Frank West and James Tomlin. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Emberleaf is a game where you're going to go through and it's got its own new mechanic that they put into the game that they call card dancing. And card dancing is basically a living tableau is the best way I can describe it, where you'll put cards from your hand out into your tableau, and then you can do this action called sliding, where you move all the cards that are currently in your tableau. And based on the cards that you have placed, they'll do different effects, and based on whether or not they're sliding or coming completely off of your tableau, will trigger different things on your turn. And that's how you drive through the game. And during the game, you're trying to contribute to the massive board. It is massive. It was a big table space game, honestly.
Yeah.
A massive board where there's multiple clearings where you will be building buildings and trying to house villagers in every single one of the buildings you place, and basically trying to create villages in these clearings. And then the bigger of a village you have with the most different types of buildings, the more you'll score every single time you expand. And then throughout the game, from eliminated enemies between clearings and from completely filling clearings, you'll earn trophies, and that the game ends when all of the trophies have been claimed.
It says it's 90 to 120 minutes, probably accurate. As you know, if you've watched it before, our group tends to push games to the end. Also, my wife kept forgetting to do a specific thing when fighting the pieces in the middle. That when you're adjacent, you fight the piece, and then you move this track down every time you do that. And
yes,
she would do like 3 fights and never move the track down, which progresses the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably would have ended
sooner than
what did you say, 3.5?
Yeah, I think it was 3.5 hours for our first play.
Yeah, our first play is always longer, obviously, with the teacher. Definitely would get sped up over time. The tableau part, like all the cards that you have with the different actions, like they can have an action when you play it, they can have action when you slide it, they can have a passive action just when they're on your board, or they have an action when they slide off your tableau. All of that kind of combines, and it's almost like a programming game, which we don't have any.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Maybe Concordia would be the closest. It's like it's got that same vibe where it's a hand management game. Pretty much have the same set of cards. There's a couple you could get, which we didn't know was only 4 actually.
Yes,
and we messed that up.
When you get new creatures, as far as we can tell, maybe there's one hidden in the game or something. There's only 4 extra cards that you get, and this game is pretty cool because the cards that you get, it's a deck builder, and you have a deck. But there is no discard pile. All of the cards in your deck you have at all times. They're either on your board or in your hand. And you only get 4 more cards than your starting deck for the whole game, because they are granted when you place one of each villager type, and there are only 4 different types on your board. So each time you place one, you get to claim one. And then those are the only ones that you'll have for the rest of the game.
Yeah, not being fully aware of that, I made some poor decisions on the cards that I did get, because I thought I could get more. So that didn't work out for me. The artwork is fantastic as well.
Yes,
all the cards have cool names on them too. Mm-hmm. And you actually like, I'm taking Puck. That's my dog right here. I think I had a guy named Rubble who was making me some rocks, which are a little bit hard to come by. So or maybe he was Pebble. I don't know. He was my dog. He's the only way I had to get rocks. He was the only way I had to get rocks, so I was getting him out there as much as I could.
Yeah, and I think for me, this game is a pretty good win for replayability because the card deck is super big. We didn't even see all of the different characters in the deck of cards because you only take 4 every single game. So we only took 16 of the cards in the deck, and we only sifted through like 40 of the cards in that process. And there's more than that in the deck, as well as there's another deck of favor cards is what they're called. And they're basically extra endgame scoring that you can also claim whenever you want, but there's a finite amount of them that you can claim. So this game has a lot of replayability because both of those decks are completely random, and your starting decks are also different. There are 5 different starting decks in the game. And I think that's pretty cool too, that nobody starts on the same foot. We all do different things right at the beginning. Because I think with my starting deck, I could get a lot of wood, and then my wife couldn't get very much wood, but she had so much food, and it was really hard for me to get food at the beginning of the game. So it's kind of like gives you somewhere to start and build off of, and then you can choose to lean into that and go even further that way by getting cards in that fashion that work with having a lot of what your starting deck can do, or you can try to even out your starter deck and grab stuff that you don't already have to make you a little bit more versatile on the board. I like that aspect of it quite a bit.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the favorite cards is going to be a bulk of your scoring in reality. Like if you manage to complete those objectives, but you kind of create your own scoring. Like there is the scoring with putting out the different buildings in each of the areas, and then there's the scoring from fighting the
dangerous areas.
The dangerous areas. When you're adjacent, you can fight them for the amount of swords in your tableau, and you'll get a little bit of points for that. But the majority of your scoring is going to be from those favorite cards that you take. So you kind of get to create what scores for you, which I think is really nice. And yeah, like you said, just the tableau of cards that we could get is never ending. We don't even know. But the bulk of the game is that resource management thing. Like you're basically just getting resources to turn into other resources or turn into cards or turn into buildings or whatever. That's what you're doing, but you're doing it with that card dancing mechanic. That is a new mechanic that nobody's done yet. The only thing I didn't like, just because I don't really like this in Fayum, I don't like it in Concordia, I don't like hand management. It's just not my bag. And it isn't exactly hand management, but it gave me that same feeling. Mm-hmm. I also found out that I suck at programming, and it hurts my brain. It hurts.
Yeah, it feels like there's definitely an optimal way to play this game, but I don't know what it is yet. Yeah. It's one of those things where multiple times throughout when you're playing, you'll do something, and then 2 turns later, you'll be like, I shouldn't have done what I just did 2 turns later. And you completely screwed yourself over. At one point in the game, I had 2 cards in the starting deck that would give me wood when I placed them, and they would work with each other if they were both placed. Like if I placed one before the other, I would get bonuses basically based off of the icons and stuff. And so I placed one, and then I placed the other one. But when I placed them right on top of each other on the tableau, and that meant that so that I had to slide those down, and they fell off at the same time, which isn't what you want, because you want one to still be on the board when it slides off, so that you can place the other one and then slide again, and then the other one falls off, and then you can place the other one back down. But I placed them right on top of each other. Yeah. So it's stuff like that where in your first play you don't really think about, and it definitely leads to some learning moments in the in the middle of the game where you're like, I messed up big time.
Yeah. Definitely a game you can get better at with repetitive plays, and that tableau is literally it's a game within a game.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, like half of the game is just trying to figure out how to optimally manage your tableau so that you can do everything that you want to do on your next 4 or 5 turns. You got to make sure that that thing is flowing correctly, or you run into issues. Yeah, I think at the very end of the game, I also got screwed because Nick ended the game and my tableau was full, so I couldn't play cards, so then I had to slide. And then because I had the slide, I couldn't build. And building is like one of the big actions in the game that'll get you points and make sure that you can meet favor card requirements and everything like that. Yeah. And so because I put everything out on my board, I didn't have enough flexibility right at the end of the game. I shouldn't have done it. So that's just one of those things that you learn with subsequent plays that I think is nice.
Is it in your top 100?
Yeah, it's in my top 100. It's probably in my top 50. The only other thing I'll mention is this is another game that gave me Clank vibes because all of the interaction in the game is positive. The only negative interaction in the game is you got there before I did, which is very Clank-like. In Clank, the only interaction there is in the game is you got there before me, basically. And I do like that about this one. It makes it easier to play and not as mean. And the amount of endgame scoring in this game, I think, is good. There is some scoring during the game, and during the game there's also global events, which I also like, based off of whoever's in first, where they're scoring at. It'll trigger global events that are also all positive.
That was a nice touch. It's just like, oh yeah, they're getting a lead on me, but I get this stuff.
Yes. And so there's a lot of during the game scoring, but there's also a ton of late game scoring, so you don't necessarily know who's going to win when you get to the point where the game ends either. And I think that's nice as well, because then there's no trying to work against somebody or anything like that either.
Yeah, it's in my top 100 too, but I don't think it's in my top 50. But it is a good game, and I'm sure we'll play it again.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely play this one again. I do like this one. So that is Emberleaf. Definitely a recommend. If you are looking for tips for your first play, pay attention to where you put stuff on your tableau, because that matters. You'll have to think ahead. Also, be careful with which cards you pull from the villager shop when you place your first villager out. Really matters. And I would say personally try to go with your starting deck at the beginning of the game, because your starting deck is probably going to skew towards a certain resource, so you're probably going to want to get your feet wet by putting a building out of the resource that you can make the most of at the beginning of the game. It's just going to make your life easier. And beehives are hard to get. It's pretty important. I believe almost every single clearing, when you place a building down, there is a spot where you can get a beehive. So you can get out one of your special buildings that come on your board and with your starting deck. You can put one of those out on top of that and then get another beehive. And so you can kind of keep that rolling if you keep doing that. So those are my main tips. Be careful with the cards you choose. At the beginning of the game, go with your starting deck, get buildings down so that you can start getting things rolling and getting more cards added to your deck, and try to be careful with your beehives.
I'm not going to give you any tips because I didn't do good.
Yeah.
So don't listen to anything that I say.
But that is Emberleaf.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below of anything you'd like to see in the future.
Don't forget to hit the bell and give us a follow on social media down in the description below.